إن الحمد لله وحده الصلاة والسلام على من لا نبي بعده وبعد اللهم صل على محمد وعلى آل محمد كما صليت على إبراهيم وعلى آل إبراهيم إنك حميد مجيد اللهم بارك على محمد وعلى آل محمد كما باركت على إبراهيم وعلى آل إبراهيم إنك حميد مجيد رب اشرح لي صدري ويسر لي أمري واحلل عقدة من لساني يفقه قولي سبحانك لا علم لنا إلا ما علمتنا إنك أنت العليم الحكيم بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. Today we are going to discuss about is page number 227, the remedy of Riya. What is Riya? Riya means show off. Riya means ostentation. And we have discussed this, that it is one of the deadly disease which destroys the reward of a person, which totally devastates the action of a person. We have discussed in our previous session that firstly, Shaitan tries his best so that we cannot perform any good deed. However, when we are determined to perform any form of good deed, then he tries his best to spoil it, to waste it, to destroy it, so that we could not get the reward, the expected reward on that particular deed. And these deeds, the good deeds, are a sign of one's success. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala confirms that those who have the firm faith and the good deeds with them, they will be saved from all sorts of punishments and torments. They will enter the paradise happily. They will have the higher stations. So the conditions, two conditions, Iman, Amal Saleh. The faith, the strong faith, and then the good actions, good deeds. And Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, Man amila minkum min dhakarin aw untha, man amila minkum salihan min dhakarin aw untha, whoever of you perform the good deeds, be it male or female, فَلَنُحْيِيَنَّهُ حَيَاةً طَيِّبَةً. Indeed, we grant them the best life in dunya and best life in the akhirah. So the conditions are two: Iman, sincerity of faith, and that faith is reflected through the actions of a person. Actually, what is amal? What is action? What are the deeds? It's a manifestation of one's Iman. Stronger the Iman, perfect the deeds, more perfect the deeds. And it is on the basis of these deeds, a person's position in the Jannah will be determined. It is on the basis of the sincerity of the deeds, a person's position in front of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is determined. So what is important for us, after Iman, we have to ensure to do what Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has commanded us, whatever Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam has commanded us. However, our top level enemy, our staunch and arch enemy, that is Satan, Shaitan, or the devil, his only job is to take us away from Allah. He has nothing to do with all our other affairs. His main objective is to take us away from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. His main objective is to hamper our spiritual development. His main objective is to slow down our pace to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. That's what he wants. That's what he's meant for. So when he tries his best to seduce us so that we don't perform the good deeds. However, when we are determined to perform the good deed, then he has a second strong trap with him, and that is just spoiling our intention, diluting our intention, and ensuring that it is not only for the sake of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. That is Riya. When we do anything and we want to be praised by others, we want to show our position to others, we want to gain the favor of others. So we are not doing this for the sake of Allah. Then there are different degrees of Riya. We have discussed that, different degrees of Riya, different levels of Riya. So now we are, as we know, and Riya is also known as, what is the other name of Riya in the hadith? The name of Riya. The other name of Riya.
Name in Arabic name or in English name? Arabic name?
Anyone. whether English or Arabic.
In Arabic, Riya, another name.
Or in English, no, not necessarily in Arabic.
Yeah, Shirik Kafi, is it not? I don't remember.
You're right, Lily, it's Shirik
Shirik
Kafi.
Kafi?
Yes, yes,
Hidden
yes.
Shirik.
Absolutely right.
Well done, Lily.
Alhamdulillah, hazza min fadli Rabbi.
Yes, it is hidden shirk. It is shirk khafi. We know that shirk is one of the obnoxious deed in Islam. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala forgive everything but not the shirk. But that is shirk akbar, or shirk jali, we also call it. As far as the Riya is concerned, it is known as shirk khafi. Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam, I'm afraid of my ummah that they commit the shirk khafi. When Sahaba asked, Ya Rasulullah, so what is shirk khafi? And Prophet said, Riya. If you see that, why Prophet said, why Prophet named it as shirk? Can you figure it out? Why Riya is known as shirk?
Because you want people to praise you.
Because you're doing it for others, not Allah.
Actually, we need to see the definition of shirk. What is definition of shirk?
Shirik is to
Associating others with Allah.
yes.
Associating partners to Allah in worship. Associating partners to Allah in worship. So when we do any form of worship, not for the sake of Allah, that is shirk. Say, sujood is only for Allah, prostration is only for Allah, but a person goes before an idol or before the grave or anyone else or before the stones or the trees or any other object, that is shirk. We need to supplicate to Allah. Supplication, dua, is a ibadah, is a form of worship. However, when we extend our hands before anyone other than Allah, that is shirk. And same way, what happens in the Riya? The action has to be only for the sake of Allah. Though a person is doing this for Allah, he's performing the way Sharia has commanded us. But here is one element is diluting the whole intention. What element? The element of show off. The person performs salah, but his objective is to show others that how pious I am. So he's doing this salah for Allah, but he's using it to show others that he's a pious person, he's a righteous person. The person is making charity. The charity is for the sake of Allah, but he's doing this to show others that he's doing this, and his objective is to get the praises of Allah or to assert his position among the people. That is what we call as shirk. The shirk is when we perform any deed, specifically deed of worship, act of worship, when we perform any act of worship for other than Allah, that is shirk. And in Riya, it is in full form. A person is doing it, but he wants to get the praises of others. That is known as shirk. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala won't reward a person if he makes the Riya. There's a hadith, Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam, that on the day of judgment, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala will say, Ana agna shuraka. I am free of all partners. I'm independent of all partners. I don't need any partner. I don't accept any partner with me. Ana agna shuraka. I'm independent of all partners. I'm free of all partners. And whoever has performed any deed for anyone else, so let him go to him and get the reward from him. And it is quite known that on the day of judgment, who will be having the only authority? It is only Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Limanil mulk, Allah says in the Quran. Whose is the dominion today? Allah will say on the day of judgment. Limanil mulk. Whose is the authority today? Lillahi al-wahid al-qahhar. Is only of the one who is all subduing, who is all dominating. So Shaitan is trying his best to spoil our intention. So we need to have a constant struggle. That is the jihad. Jihad with the nafs. struggle with the nafs, struggle with the shaitan. And that struggle, there's no end to this struggle. It is until the last moment of our life, we have to struggle hard. It's mentioned that Sheikh Abdul Qadir Jilani rahimahullah is one of the famous pious person. He was a scholar also, and a rich man as well. And his books are quite beneficial, like Gunyatul Talibin, Futuhul Ghaib. They're very beneficial books. And he was a Sufi. But what type of Sufi? Following strictly the Quran and Sunnah. Sheikh Abdul Qadir Jilani. Now people are doing a lot of shirk and bid'ah under his under the cover that they are the followers of Sheikh Abdul Qadir, but they are not true followers of Sheikh Abdul Qadir. As simply, I always say that they are the good Muslims and the bad Muslims. And bad Muslims say we are the followers of the Prophet Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam. And they're saying that they are the followers of the Prophet Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam. Okay, we accept it. But their bad deeds, that doesn't mean na'udhu billah, that Prophet commanded it. Likewise, there are many people now who claim to be the followers of Sheikh Abdul Qadir Jilani. There's a mystic or Sufi order, Qadariyah, and he's a founder of this order, or founder of this, we can say, this school of Sufism, Qadariyah school. However, when we analyze his life, when we see his writings, he was a very profound scholar, and inviting the people to practice the Quran and Sunnah. One such example is Gunyatul Talibin. He has castigated, he has scolded the Sufis who claim to be Sufis, but they avoid the path of Sunnah. He scolds them a lot. And then he encourages the people that if you want to get the higher stations of spirituality, you cannot achieve it except through the way of Prophet Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam. Sheikh Abdul Qadir rahimahullah, one day he set out on a journey, and he had to travel a long distance through the desert. Now he's walking, and it's quite scorching heat of the sun, and there is no shade. He's quite exhausted, but all of a sudden what he finds that there's a patch of cloud, and beautiful cloud is a bright clouds are above him, which provide the shade to him. And out of this patch of cloud, the light, a kind of noor emerged. And then it was followed by a statement, Sheikh Abdul Qadir, now you have struggled a lot until this point of time, until this point of life. You have done a lot of good deeds. Now Allah is pleased with you. You don't have to do anything anymore. You need not to do anything anymore. Allah is pleased with you now. Sheikh Abdul Qadir. If in place of Sheikh, we were in place of Sheikh Abdul Qadir, we'd be very happy. Oh, Allah is pleased with us. Now we don't have to do anything. We got the certification. But he was a scholar, genuine scholar. He recited, A'udhu billahi minash shaitanir rajeem. And all these clouds and the noor and the light vanished into thin air. And shaitan appeared in front of him. And he said to Sheikh Abdul Qadir, you are very clever. Today you were saved by your knowledge. Why? One of the reasons why Sheikh Abdul Qadir thought, rahimahullah, Allah says to the Prophet in the Quran, وَعْبُدْ رَبَّكَ حَتَّى يَأْتِيَكَ الْيَقِينُ. O Prophet, sallallahu alayhi wasallam, you worship Allah until the last moment of the breath. Until the last rattle of the breath, last moment of the life. Sheikh Abdul Qadir said, he said to himself, Allah says this to the Prophet sallallahu alayhi wasallam, whose ibadah, worship is exemplary and matchless. And I stand nowhere in front of Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam. When Allah commands him to worship Allah until the last moment of life, who am I to be excluded from worship? So it is definitely the handiwork of shaitan. So he recited, A'udhu billahi minash shaitanir rajeem. The shaitan is very dangerous. tremendously dangerous. Then Shaitan addressed him, Sheikh Abdul Qadir, very clever. Today you were saved by your knowledge. This was another trap of Shaitan. Sheikh Abdul Qadir said, no, I was not saved by my knowledge. I was saved by the grace of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Then Shaitan said to him, until this level, I have slipped many a people, many a pious people. I have seduced many a pious people. I would say to them, you were saved by knowledge. They said, yes, it was because we were having the knowledge, we were saved. But you are very clever. He said, no, I was not saved by my knowledge. I was saved by Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. I was saved by His grace. It was His tawfiq that saved me. So what I want to say is that Shaitan is trying his best, and he's having novel ways of seducing us. And once we fall into his trap, it is difficult for us to get back. So Riya which is objective, is to spoil the action. The Shaitan firstly doesn't want us to perform the deed. Once we perform it, then he tries his best that the reward of the deed should not be given to us. Then he tries his best to induce such elements which will spoil that particular ibadah, that form of ibadah. And as there is likulli Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam, likulli da'in dawa. Every disease has a remedy. Every disease has a cure, except one disease. The hadith is only this much: likulli da'in dawa. Every disease has a cure. But the ulama say that there's one disease that there is no cure to it. What disease this is?
Death.
Death is such a disease, no cure to it. There's no any medicine that can prevent the death, that can stop the death. Death is inevitable, and one has to face it. Willingly or unwillingly, whether thinking about it or neglecting it, this hardly matters. When the appropriate time comes, then nobody can stop it. So likulli da'in dawa. Whenever there is any disease, there's a cure for this, there's a remedy for this. Likewise, we are discussing about the spiritual diseases. We are discussing about the diseases of the heart. One of the diseases of the heart, we are discussing about the destructive flaws. This destructive flaw is going to destroy all our good deeds, and that's the Riya. So this is definitely a sickness. This is an ailment. This is a disease. So it also has a cure. Imam Al-Ghazali says, rahimahullah, two elements constitute the remedy of Riya. First, to uproot it from the heart, and second, to ward it off immediately, whenever it comes to one's mind when doing an act of worship. So two elements are there which constitute the remedy of Riya. According to Imam Al-Ghazali, the first one is to uproot it from the heart, because the center of the Riya is the heart. Riya is not in our hands or in our eyes or in our movements. Riya is actually, it is in the heart. It's a disease of the heart. So what is the remedy for this? To uproot it, to eradicate it from the heart. That is the first one. And second, to ward it off immediately whenever it comes to one's mind when doing an act of worship. Whenever we are facing the situation of Riya, we feel the ostentation, we feel that our heart is not is doing this. Our heart is motivated to do this for other than Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Then we try to fix the corruption in the heart. We try to fix the evil corruption of the heart and make that form of ibadah, that act of worship, only for the sake of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. As for the first element, that is uprooting Riya from the heart, it should be realized that love of prestige and high position is a primary root of Riya. There are three signs of such love. Love the pleasure produced by being praised, to flee from pain caused by being dispraised, and to look greedily at what the other people possess. You see the deep understanding of Imam Al-Ghazali rahimahullah of the human nature. Imam Al-Ghazali rahimahullah had a deep understanding of the human nature. He says, actually, love of prestige and high position is the primary root of Riya. Why a person makes Riya? There are two basic reasons, though there can be also many other reasons, but there are two primary and fundamental reasons. One, the prestige, to have the high position in the society, and this false prestige, to be known by others, and then to be celebrated by others. So this sense of celebration, or the sense of prestige, that is the root cause of the Riya. Because once a person wants to be known by others, then you have to show something which is extraordinary. You have to appease the people that you possess some certain qualities which they are deprived of. And the best way to assert one's position is to show that you are pious, you are righteous. Because piety is something which is celebrated by one and all, which is respected by one and all. And this way a person wants to achieve a high position. And the easiest way, and almost it works all the time. If a person wants to achieve the position in the society, to be celebrated by the people, then simple way is to make show off in the acts of ibadah. Okay? You do any form of charity, any form of ibadah, then you want to make it public. And I have discussed this before, that making the specifically, sometimes a person needs to make show off of a particular action. But that show off is not in the meaning, it's linguistic show off, not the technical show off. Sometimes we need to encourage others to do a particular deed. Once a person's intention is sincere, and his second intention is to motivate others, then he will be rewarded manifold. One, for the sincere action he's performing. Second, he's using this action to inspire others, so that they do the good deed for the sake of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. But that is excluded. So sometimes we need to make certain things public. But the publicity of a particular action at certain occasion is excluded, because that time the objective is to motivate others, to inspire others, so that they also perform the good deeds. They also participate in the form of charity. They also participate in any form of the act of the ibadah. So that is excluded. I'm talking here in a general sense, that a person is doing this and making his actions public. Okay, if a person is performing salah, other one is just capturing his photo, and then he uploads on the Facebook and other social media. If the intention is that others may be motivated to perform this ibadah, okay, Allah will reward this. But if it's to show, okay, how pious I am, that every time, every good deed, you just take your selfie and upload on the social media. Allah knows best. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is aware of each and every intention of ours. There's nothing hidden to him. So that's the, we can say, exceptional case. But here the general rule is, a person is doing this. Why he's doing this? To gain the position in the society, to be celebrated by the people. Wherever he go, he gets the respect, he gets the honor, and he gets the attention of the people. But that's all against the taqwa. That's all against the piety and the principles of righteousness. Because one of the name of the Qiyamah is Khafidatul Rafi'ah. Khafida, Rafi'ah. Khafida is going to deflate the position of many people who were celebrated into this dunya. Rafi'ah is going to elevate the position of many of the people who were ignored by the people of dunya, neglected by them. No position, no prominence, no eminence. However, in the sight of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, they were quite prominent people. So their status, the Qiyamah is going to elevate their status, while as deflating the status of many of the celebrities of the world. Riya is a poison, is a deadly disease. And Imam Al-Ghazali rahimahullah says that there are three signs of such love. And a person is doing this for the sake of seeking the prestige or seeking the prominence among the people, high position. He says there are three signs of such love. Why a person love prestige? Then we discuss these three things, inshallah, in our next session. Subhanallah bihamdihi, subhanakallah bihamdik. Ashhadu an la ilaha illa anta astaghfiruka wa atubu ilayk. Subhana rabbika rabbil izzati amma yasifun wa salamun ala al-mursaleen.